What's up, guys? It's been a while since I put a video out. My buddy asked me to resharpen his Ganzo knife. This thing is pretty beat up where he uses it at work. Now, I've convexed this edge and I've sharpened it several times. It's got a pretty nasty chip in it right here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grind this chip out and then just re-edge it. I'm going to go over the full bevel just for a little bit. I'm not really trying to thin it out per se, but I want to get some of these blemishes and scratches out of it. Now, I'm not looking for a true mirror polish on this thing, but I would like to get some of the wear marks out of it just to make it look good again. In his use, it seems like the thicker Convex has worked out really well. I haven't had to sharpen this in quite a while. It still had an edge on it a little bit. I've already cut it off though when I was cleaning it up, just because I was having to scrub it so hard to get all the gunk off of it. So I'm going to do a 500 Beston, then we're going to go into my 1K Sigma Select, and then my 3K Sigma, and that's where we're going to stop. I'm not going to record this full process, but I will get it started and touch on some highlights of the other stones. Doing a full convex like what I've done with this knife is easier on a flat grind. With this, all I'm going to do is I'm going to lay the knife completely flat on the main grind here. It's going to have a slight tilt just because of the angle of approach, but I'm going to start completely flat. I'm going to go back and forth just like this, and as I sharpen, I'm going to slowly raise my angle. So I'll start like this, and then as I sharpen, I will slowly start to raise the angle up until I get to where the apex actually is, which I'm probably going to keep it around 20 degrees, give or take. You know, this isn't an exact science, but I'm going to try to get it around 20 degrees. Without further ado, I'm going to grind out this chip first. To do that, I'm just going to go ahead and elevate the knife, probably, I don't know, 40 degrees per side. I'm going to grind the chip out real quick, and we're going to drop it, and we're going to edge it. Now, this is really steep. As you can see right here, this is about the angle I'm going at. I'm just doing this to get that chip out. I'm going to put my finger directly on it, so I've got pressure right above the chip, and just concentrate on removing it. Ganzo 440C is pretty soft, and this is almost done. Now I'm sure he's got some other nicks in the edge, so I'm just going to go across the whole thing. Same thing on the other side, really elevated. Go across the whole edge, just so if there's any nicks, I'll get those all removed. I'm going to drag it across my fingernail. Now, I'm not dragging it across the meat of my nail, I'm dragging it across the tip. So I always use the very end of my nail, and I just run the blade across it, and I'm feeling for any nicks, any bumps, anything like that, and it feels smooth. So I've pretty much ground out all of those chips. Next, I'm going to lay the knife flat. Actually, I'm going to cut what little edge is there off. I'm going to lay the knife completely flat on the stone, and I'm just going to start going back and forth. And right now, I'm not elevating. I'll flip it over and I'll do the exact same thing to the other side. I got my thumb here pressing down, my other fingers along the bevel pressing straight down. Again, I am just hitting the flat of the bevel. I'm hitting this main grind here. And this stone is super thirsty, so gotta constantly flush it with water. Again, this shouldn't take too long. 440C on Ganzo knives. Not super hard. I'm going to start concentrating on getting my convex back. I don't know if you can see this, but there's pretty much a demarc line between the bevel and where I've just ground. I'm now going to start blending all of that back together, but I'm going to start slowly raising the angle. I'm also allowing my wrist to be loose, so I'll start getting a natural rocking motion. With convexing, the thinner you make it behind the edge, the sharper the apex will actually start to feel. I still haven't hit the apex yet. I haven't gone quite high enough. I'm still sitting at about probably 15 degrees. I'm fixing to start really elevating it and getting the edge back on this. And you can hear the difference between that and that. That's hitting behind the edge. That's hitting the apex. My wrist is really loose. I'm allowing it to wobble back and forth. Do the same thing to the other side. And I am going perpendicular to the stone. I want that wrist motion. I want that natural convexity to occur. Dropping my angle a little bit. This is the 1000 grit Sigma Select. I've already started running this knife across the main bevel on this stone. Again, I'm not going for a true mirror polish here. I just wanted to get some of those surface scratches out. I think I'm going to end up putting like a satin finish on it when I'm done. So I'm not going for super refinement. Right now, I'm fixing to start blending my convex in. Again, I start flat on the stone, and as I work it back and forth, I slowly start to elevate my angle. Start flat, slowly work up. Start flat, slowly work up. Same thing on the other side. Now that I've got it kind of started, I'm going to really start to elevate the angle, get all the way down to the apex. I already feel a burr. I know I've hit the apex really well. I'm going to do some back and forths. And as I'm going back, I'm slowly elevating again. So I start flat, raise, flat, raise, flat, raise. Again, my wrist is loose. I'm allowing that natural rolling to occur. Pretty much got a burr. I'm all done with this stone. I'm going to repeat this process on the 3K. This is my 3K Sigma Select. Again, I'm going to start flat on the stone. Just work it back and forth, and I do have a little bit of a slurry on this stone. And I want to slowly elevate my angle. Just gonna inspect my work real quick because I think I am just about done. All I've got to do is get the main bevel kind of set and finished, I think. Actually, I may just go ahead and polish it. We'll see what happens. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do yet. My final step, as always, I'm just going to strop. I strop all of my knives when I've done sharpening. I don't care what grit I've sharpened them to. I have never found an edge that didn't benefit from some stropping. If that's not how you do it, as long as it works for you, do it however you want. But this is how I do it. And as I said, if you want your convex edge to be even sharper, the more you thin it out behind the edge, the sharper it'll get. Now that does have diminishing returns. You could probably get away with thinning it out I don't know, 3 or 4 times, but once it gets to a certain point, you can spend hours and hours thinning it out and only get just the slightest, tiniest amount of sharpness out of it. So, all right, what I'm going to do next is I think I'm just going to put a light coat of polish on this blade. I'm going to buff it out. We'll come back when everything's all said and done. And instead of polishing this, I went ahead and just gave it kind of a satin finish. All I did was go over some really, really worn out sandpaper. And you can see I didn't do a super job up here in the tip. But I went over some really, really worn out sandpaper and then just lightly buffed it on a strop. So the actual finish is kind of like a satin. It looks a lot better than it did previously. It had all these scratches going through it. And hopefully you can see that convex bevel. It's a full convex, so it goes straight from the main cutting bevel, or the main bevel of the grind, straight into the cutting edge. And I left it pretty thick because, like I said, my buddy uses this knife really, really hard. So the thicker it is, the more durable the edge is going to be. But it's got a nice sharpness to it, so I don't think he's going to be disappointed whatsoever. If you have any questions or comments, as always, leave them below. I appreciate you watching. Y'all have a good one.